90 GHD sit-ups is nothing to sneeze at.
Lane assignments with Haley Adams in lane 10 as your leader. Has dealt with GHD sit-ups at the CrossFit Games before. 2016, GHD sit-ups appeared in a teens event. She won. Take a look at lanes 11 through 12. She can look to her left and right and see her nearest competition. Chloe Smith is in podium position in lane 9. Kayla Stefano in lane 11. Staring down a second place finish, which, while she's the back-to-back defending champ, second place ain't half bad.
That's not that bad at all, really. When you're up against a young lady who's been so dominant, there's been 9 different tests so far, and she's only had that one little glitch where she comes second. So she's been dominant over every single event and test that's been thrown at her this weekend. But what a great battle going on to battle out for third place. One of the ladies in contention is Devin Kim, and she knows the pressure is on. The other one, Chloe Smith, head down, ready to get to work.
Smith and Kim were first and second in the 14 and 15-year-old division a year ago. Take a jump up to the 16 and 17-year-old division. You're still fighting for a podium spot. Not a bad place to be. What is in store? What's important here in this heat?
GHDs are fairly grueling, not just with the core as you activate on the way up, but also the quads. Now keep in mind, a lot of the stuff they've done over the last couple of days have been very leg intensive. So you think about dumbbell squats, you think about box jump overs, you think about the swimming, and also the rowing as well. They got on the bike yesterday, so making sure you do strategic sets of GHDs. Speaking to a number of the athletes this morning, a lot of them are going to go 20-10 for their breakup and not try and do the 30 unbroken. Now 3 sets of 30 is fairly grueling. But once you do get to that sandbag, you want to make sure you get a fair lot of balance, because it is an odd object and that sand inside is going to move around a fair bit.
Haley Adams with the hand up when she is coming to the end of her GHD sit-ups. The same can be said for Tori Dow in lane 8. Her third competition here at the CrossFit Games as well. A regular. You start to see that with the teenage divisions. Some people that are becoming household names year in and year out, trying to make that jump eventually to the individual side of things. Faith Ferguson on the left in the pink. On the right in blue, Tessa Marquette out of Bradenton, Florida. How much do you want it in CrossFit? Tori Dow travels 2 hours each direction to get to her box to train.
Maybe she likes to drive.
Well, she lives in Los Angeles too, so
so it's odd. So it's 5 minutes down the road.
She lives with Hannah Hall when she travels. Hannah Hall is also competing in lane 2 in this event. 2 have become great friends over the last year, and she'll actually stay with her 3 or 4 days at a time to cut down on that travel time. All pays off to get you to this point as she fights within 200 points of a podium here on the final day.
Now, talking lever length, a lot of these young ladies on the floor, not great in stature. And Serena Good, bottom left, she's got that sandbag, and she's got to move it a fair distance, even though she's not that tall a person. But what she's trying to do is extend those hips as much as she can. The more momentum she can gain by getting that sandbag off the floor, and you'll see that big hip drive and roll over the top. The one before, not so great on the hip extension, and she did fail that, but she was one of the first off the first set of GHDs.
This is 3 rounds, 4 times, so back to the GHD sit-ups here across the board. Haley Adams is your overall leader on the right of your screen. She is also the leader in this event. Adams is 8 of 9. If she can go 10 of 11 in event wins, she will be the winningest competitor in a single games by percentage of points won in CrossFit history. That's incredible.
And then you think, she's just in the 16-17 division. What happens when she grows up?
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. She was close at regionals this year, but I'm sure the name of Haley Adams is going to ring in competitors' ears for many years to come.
Points of performance on these sandbag cleans. You cannot dip underneath it. That was pointed out at the athlete briefing yesterday. It has to be a full extension, throw over, and then you'll notice you can throw it in any direction you want. There's no particular set of rules on that, right?
And being on the strongman seminar staff as well, we do a lot of stuff with Atlas stones. Now, one big point of performance that we do with the Atlas stones, which is a similar object, is we do not want that stone to descend at any point. We don't want to do all that work on the way up for them to move all the way down again. Really dangerous to do that. So a great point of performance for the sandbag, traveling in that one direction. Once you do get that hips open, it's just so much easier to start rolling that sandbag up over that shoulder. Carlos Stefano doing a great job of that to the right of screen.
Adams is the first one back to the GHD rig. Kayla Stefano trying to catch up to her here on her second set of 10 sandbag cleans.
Talking about stature as well and grip. So you've got short arms. This object is going to be really difficult to get your arms around and grip. Same thing we find with Atlas stones. So the longer your arms and the more grip you can get around the object, the easier it's going to be.
Atlas stone, for those at home that don't know.
Big concrete balls that you see guys named Bjorg over in the Nordic countries, over in Northern Europe. They do a lot of different objects, but this is just one of the strongman objects brought into competition here. The yoke we saw the other day at North Park as well.
I tried to pick up an Atlas stone the other week, by the way. It didn't go well. Stefano back to the GHD. Glute Ham Developer, GHD. Glute Ham Destroyer, depending on your perspective.
And if you're not conditioned to this sort of sit-up, these athletes obviously are. It can get very nasty, especially in your core region 2 or 3 days after when you try and get out of bed or sneeze or cough.
The dominance Haley Adams is chasing. She came into this with a 184-point lead. Those are the largest margins of victory in any division in CrossFit history. And they called the movie about the one on top the Redeemed and the Dominant.
What do we call this?
The Redeemed and the Dominant, actually. Haley Adams making up for coming in second place each of the last 2 years.
Redeemed Dominant, Volume 2.
Adams will have to carry the sandbag across the finish line here to pick up what will be her 9th event victory. The most in a single games in teenage games history. 9 was the career record coming in. It was held by Anthony DeSico on the boys' side. 6.5 minutes into a 12-minute time cap. Haley Adams, domination continues. Make it 9 event victories.
What can't this young lady do? Look out of breath.
Swims, cross-country, gymnastics, does it all athletically. Certainly, she can CrossFit. Chloe Smith, hot on her heels. We talked about her as a podium contender at the start of the event. She began 44 points on the podium, and Chloe Smith will gain some traction there with a second-place finish in the event. Stefano firmly in second at the beginning of the day. Hand is up. She is coming down the home stretch of the sandbag cleans.
When we think about top 3 at the end of today, that battle between Chloe Smith and Devin Kim ongoing. Carla Stefano looks like she's wrapped up number 2. But Devin Kim, who's on the outside looking in with it all to do, not just finishing high in this event, but also the one to come.
2 to 3 times a day, Devin Kim trains. 5 a.m. workouts, school, workout again. Kayla Stefano knows the grind. Kayla Stefano is finished.
And in tears as well. That one hurt. Or maybe the realization that the title has slipped away.
The effort that goes in for years. 2 and 3 training sessions a day for many of these young ladies. But you do have to, and it's easy for us to say, take the step back and put it in perspective. She will depart with 2 CrossFit Games championships. Likely will have a podium today as Mia Nightingale finishes. She's going to graduate from college at 19. Kayla Stefano has a long CrossFit career in front of her, hopefully an Olympic career in weightlifting as well. And civil engineering will be a profession better off for her contributions to it down the line.
We think about the journey over the entire 4 days of competition. We sort of ride the wave with them, but the emotion, you get a win, things are good. You don't get a win, things are bad. So your emotions play an important part, trying to keep them intact, but it has been an emotional ride for a number of these girls, including Kayla Stefano.
Here comes Devin Kim fighting for that podium spot with Smith finishing well in front of her. It will make it tough for Kim. Tessa Marquette is in the blue in lane 15 in the middle of your screen. Katla davidsdottir gripping that sandbag in the white. And you can talk about how difficult it is to pick up amorphous 100-pound bag.
She has got great extension, though, when she does get full extension at the top. So really loading up beautifully. Exactly what I want to see at the bottom position. So you're not doing much work when you're in that partial squat position. You'll see when she does stand up, she'll pull it into a lap, then wrap those arms. Beautiful. Lots of hip extension and drive over. That is almost flawless execution of that sandbag. But normally with the Atlas stone, it is a concrete stone. So it's a lot more balanced. With this sandbag, got a little bit of play with that sand moving left to right.
Strong athlete. Talk about what young ladies can accomplish. She's 17 years old. She has 13 Icelandic weightlifting records. It's almost one a year. The cap coming close in about 90 seconds time. In the blue at the bottom of your screen is Emiliana Juara out of Venezuela. And she forgot the bag as Kettle's daughter will beat her to the line with a minute left in the time cap. And as Emiliana comes across the line, the event nears its conclusion. Luisa Marquez. The Brazilians got such a great following. We've talked about the rise of Brazilian CrossFit.
They're everywhere.
It's insane. We saw Nachi Graciano walk by yesterday. It was the floor announcer in Rio de Janeiro at the regionals and is very well known in CrossFit communities. Vivian Aiello, who came in third to Brenda Castro at the regionals, has made her way up from Brazil.
But not just that, the supporters as well. They're coming en masse. And you mentioned yesterday about the number of CrossFit affiliates now in Brazil, second only to the US. That's incredible growth of CrossFit down in South America.
The competitors will now surround Luisa Marquez with 8 seconds left in the event to try to get her through these torturous GHD sit-ups. And event number 10 is in the books.
What an incredible performance that is going on with Haley Adams. I just cannot begin to imagine what is going to happen in the next couple of years with Haley Adams. This is the 10th of 11 tests for these young ladies. And not a new movement, but a new item to add to an old movement. The medball GHD sit-ups. Adams taking an early lead, but then the odd object, sandbag, and she was so efficient. Lots of hip extension. And for the last little bit of work, having to pick it up and drag it over the line for another event win, and the machine just keeps on rolling. Haley Adams, exceptional performance this weekend.
We'll test the creativity of Haley Adams. What new can she tell Nikki?
Haley, not the first time we've spoken this weekend, obviously. Yet another win under your belt. You managed to pull ahead again kind of early on in that first round and stay ahead, but you said you took a little bit of a break. What was going on there?
So I saw that I had a lead going into the last round, so I was just like, well, I'll catch my breath for a second, and then I was like, let's just finish strong.
Yeah. Now, I know you're a true competitor. We still have one event left here. Do you get to take a little bit of a break or take a little bit of a slower pace in that, knowing how far ahead you are in the standings?
Absolutely, but I'm not that person. I'm going to give it 100% always. So.
Well, good luck. Looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you, guys.
Haley Adams continues to stroll. Although it looks like it's been a toll on her here in the CrossFit Games presented by Reebok in 2018. That's now 9 event wins in 10 events for Haley Adams, and she does it again in convincing fashion. I mean, she's winning by 20, 30 seconds a clip.
Just pulling away each and every time. Doesn't matter what these other girls can do. Haley Adams is just an exceptional competitor and performer, and obviously learned a lot of lessons from that second place finish last year. Talk about going to do your homework for an exam. She has done the training, done the work, not just mentally, but physically also. Another event win.
Adams will go for a coronation if she can finish it off strong. That's this afternoon. But the teenage boys are next. Back inside the age group pavilion here at Alliant Energy Center, Madison, Wisconsin, the Reebok CrossFit Games 2018. Final day of competition, which means 2 events remaining in the boys' 16 and 17-year-old bracket. Jeremy Austin, Joel Gadet, Nikki Brazier down on the floor with us today. Glad you chose to spend part of your Sunday with us. Dallin Pepper came in as the heavy favorite. He won the Open, he won the qualifier. He did not win on day 1. He was 5th, and then he wasn't. Kind of found his form Friday, Saturday, commanding lead on Sunday.
He just keeps rolling on. Good to chat to him just walking into the arena this morning. And he said he wasn't going to take his foot off the pedal at all. He wants to go with another 200 points at the end of today. So no rest. We just saw it with Haley Adams, but no rest at all for Dallin Pepper.
In store for event number 10, the vaunted GHD.
3 rounds of 30 med ball GHD sit-ups, a new object added to the GHD movement. The gentleman will be doing 20 pounds, then into 10 sandbag cleans at 150 pounds, a 12-minute time cap. And most athletes in the previous age division for the females getting through that work well under that 12-minute time cap.
Lane assignments, being your leader, Dallin Pepper is in lane 10. Noah Casey was your day 1 leader, hanging around, still fighting for a podium spot in lane 8. He is 26 points back of a podium spot here in the final 2 events. Vincent Ramirez, a former champion as a 15-year-old, will be right next to Dallin Pepper in lane 11.
We talk about top 3 and who is going to get onto the podium at the end of competition. The man, if you can call him a young man, with all the pressure on him to stay in that top 3. 200 points up for grabs, so there is going to be a little bit of play, but Ethan Elwell from Guam has got a lot of pressure on him to hold on to that top 3 position.
Vincent Ramirez made a charge to get himself into 2nd yesterday. A 1st, a 9th, and a 4th. Sunday underway here in Madison, Wisconsin. 12 minutes of pain, starting with these GHD sit-ups. GHD stands for Glute Ham Developers. We've said a couple of times, Glute Ham Destroyer, depending on your perspective. It's an interesting apparatus because you have to do it right. If you do it wrong, it can cause you problems.
Elwell, I'd expect to do very well with this. You've got to engage your core, obviously, but with that extra height, it's going to be a lot closer to the ground. But you must get through strategic sets. You don't want to go to full fatigue on that first set, and I know a number of athletes going to do a set of 20 and a set of 10 to break it up over all 3 sets. Fast transitions as well. You don't want to be mucking around, getting your feet unlocked from the GHD and getting onto that sandbag. And also the walk or the jog back to the GHD for the 2nd and 3rd round. Make sure it's quick. It's only 12 minutes.
There have been GHD events in each of the last couple of CrossFit Games, actually 2015 and 2016 for the teenagers. The most similar to what we're looking at today was in 2015. It was a triplet with GHD sit-ups, bar muscle-ups, which we will not see, but there was also a sandbag run. And you obviously have the sandbag cleans here and then have to carry it over the finish line. Dallin Pepper did not participate in that event. He was not here, but Vincent Ramirez, just to his right, placed 3rd to the eventual champion, Anthony DeSico.
Dallin Pepper doing a great job of getting that sandbag nice and close to his center of mass. You see the nice wide base he gets, rolling that sandbag in between his legs, and then once he's got it in close to his body, extending those hips and ensuring he gets that nice shrug at the top. It'll make an easy roll over. Vincent Ramirez to the right of screen in the pink, having a little bit of trouble with that rollover. So a little bit more hip extension there, as you saw with the one on the right. A lot better than the previous one.
Fitting choice of a test here on Sunday. A lot of times it's recovery day for athletes. So what do you do on recovery day? Let's burn the core.
Let's work out some more, get some more fitness.
All about the core on these events.
Now, speaking with about Elwell earlier with a GHD sit-up in the med ball, he's closer to the ground when he leans back. However, when you get to a sandbag clean, he's got to go even further. So you want to have that nice, easy balance between both. So sometimes we see taller athletes struggle on these sort of movements, but they won't struggle so much on the GHD sit-up.
It's a couplet for everyone. Something for those that are taller, something for those that are not.
Strengths and weaknesses across the board. That's what we're testing right across the 11 events for the teenage division. And Elwell doing really well with his hip extension, but he really has to get a move on here because that top 3 spot for him this afternoon on that podium is slowly slipping away.
Just 18 points keeping him on the podium right now. As soon as he finishes here at the CrossFit Games, he's going to go back home to Guam, start washing cars again at the Triple J dealership. It'd be nice if he could do that with a medal around his neck. That might up the tips.
Yeah, a little bit. Wear your medal to work each day. Elwell looking in a little bit of trouble, bottom right of screen. A number of the athletes already finishing up their 2nd set of GHDs, and Elwell just getting started.
Talk about time commitment, by the way, too. Side job for Elwell, plus school, plus he's training CrossFit enough to get himself to the games. The time management skills of these young men and young ladies on the women's side, incredible. Ramirez will put that med ball back and head back to the sandbag. He'll tackle his next 10 cleans. Dallin Pepper already underway to his right, your left.
It's interesting with these two young gentlemen on screen. Both had a fairly slow start. Maybe they just needed that extra warm-up day, but once they have got cracking, they have just plowed on. Ramirez, the former champ in the previous division, 14-15. But great battle going on in this event, but Pepper said he wanted to finish with a bang with 2 W's. He's doing the right things at the moment to make sure that happens.
See that hip drive, Jeremy, you were talking about, as Dallin Pepper picks up that sandbag.
It's funny, he got that great hip drive, but it sort of sat on his shoulder for a split second before it rolled over. So if he gets a little bit more, just that weight distribution, and you saw it to the left of the screen, weight distribution a lot better, hitting the top of that shoulder and getting that roll over the top.
Elwell just got no repped on a GHD. Dylan Cade now on the bottom right side of your screen. He is the man right behind Elwell. So he stands to gain if he can pick up some points on Ethan here in event number 10. Although the margin between Cade and the next guy is 2 points. So Noah Casey could also stand to gain here. While Dallin Pepper has a massive lead between he and Vincent Ramirez, the lead from 2 on down to 7 is just 82 points. The hand in the air from the judge on the left signifying Elwell coming to the end of his GHD sit-ups. There is Noah Casey, our day 1 leader.
And he is really starting to struggle. The time taking to get that sandbag up and over that shoulder, the fatigue really starting to kick in. And chatting to Dallin Pepper about fatigue, he said his legs were starting to hurt a little bit. And he said if mine are hurting, everyone else's are hurting. And Noah just having a little bit of trouble getting set for this sandbag. I'd like to see that sandbag a little bit closer to his body on the initial pickup off the ground, because it is starting to drag it forward and put more pressure on those quads.
It's called a sandbag clean, but Noah Casey did tell us before that deadlifting is one of his weaknesses and one of the things he is still working on to improve in CrossFit. And the similarity between this and a deadlift is you're picking something heavy up off the ground.
But in regards to a nice balanced object like a barbell, this is something completely different.
Yeah, it's like a deadlift times 20. These athletes do not have to face a particular direction as they throw the sandbag over their shoulder. You can go however the sandbag takes you.
In saying that, the way Pepper's doing it at the moment, he's getting a really good pace on his sandbag cleans. Get that extension, get it over the shoulder, turn around, get set. So it's a really good way to pace it, as opposed to just facing the same way or moving it around in circles.
Now Pepper is on his final 5 here. That being said, you also do have to throw it in your lane. You can't be chasing it halfway across the pavilion.
Get in the way of the other athletes.
Excuse me, sir.
Sometimes less work is better.
100 points on the line for Dallin Pepper. It would give him 752 for the week. He's already up by 162 points, and that would be with just 100 points left on the board in the final event today. Dallin Pepper has to pick the sandbag up, walk to the finish line. Dallin Pepper sitting pretty. That's a look of a man that knows.
I love it when they call their shot and then they follow through with it. Even though they're still quite young, they've got that confidence to go, you know what, I'm going WW today and no one is going to stop me. Because really, everything's in your control. You can't control what anyone else does.
The time cap for this event is 12 minutes, 3 rounds of the 30 med ball GHD sit-ups, 10 sandbag cleans. Vincent Ramirez trying to be the first man in after Dallin Pepper, and he will be. So 1 and 2 in the overall leaderboard, or 1 and 2 in the event. That will not change heading into the final event of the CrossFit Games. Now, who will be in third? Dylan Cade, maybe?
Talk about trying to get your universe aligned. Dylan Cade battling it out at the moment, not with the other competitors, but with this sandbag, and it is really starting to fatigue him. Elwell to the left of screen, really falling off the pace, but Cade's pace now on this third set of sandbag cleans has really slowed down.
Remember Dylan Cade, though, where he was 2 days ago. On the 1-rep max shoulder to overhead, he almost put up a 0. Nathan Clifton, in the meantime, has taken third place as these two battle it out. Dylan Cade almost put up a 0 in that event, and he just got the weight up after he failed twice, seconds before the time cap. If he had not gotten that weight over his head, his weekend's over. But he gets through it, he keeps himself around, and he's fighting Elwell for a podium spot.
Said he loves the longer endurance events. This is under 10 minutes for Dylan Cade, but doing himself all the favors.
72 points with that 4th place finish.
And try and climb into that top 3 and stay there with one event to go.
Now watch the difference here. Cade came in 18 back of Elwell.
Elwell speeding up his cleans to the right of the screen in the blue. Now this is something I was hoping he would do in the second round, but now he's doing it on the third. He's got 5 reps to go now. And if he can cycle quicker than Casey, this is going to be a really important result.
Those two neck and neck here. Valuable points for Elwell. 72 went to Cade. 64 points go to the 5th place finisher. So Elwell can maintain his spot, but he just got no repped, and Casey will get in ahead of him. Nick Toonsey has also finished. So points going away.
Elwell on his second last clean, he had his foot outside that little 5-foot box you see, and the judge no-repped him, and he wasn't sure exactly what was happening. He's doing it again, and the judge just making sure that foot is inside the box, and then telling him, "Well, you're not finished now. Get over the line with that sandbag."
The bear hug sandbag is over the line, and Elwell upset with his judge.
It's a lot easier when your heart rate's not at 220 beats a minute. A little bit of discussion with head judge Eric O'Connor. Wonder if that'll come into play later on.
And Eric does a good job to put out the fire a little bit as Elwell gets tied up in the moment of fighting for his CrossFit Games glory.
Anyway, it's not just hot on the floor, it's hot up here as well.
Sandbag carried across by Logan Ewing in the navy green top. Those two things are not the same, but like navy, they wear that color. 9 seconds left. Evan Haynes finishing in lane 3. And the time cap rearing its head on the boys' side, where it really didn't on the girls, but certainly a difference in the sandbag, 150 pounds.
And also the med ball. 20-pound med ball and 150-pound sandbag, just proving to be a little bit more grueling.
Dallin Pepper.
Not a hair out of place.
That's the amazing thing, by the way. That guy's gel.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't
Hasn't moved all week. How'd he do it?
Starting off, he did say he was going to go 20-10 with his med ball GHD sit-ups, but that wasn't where he made up the ground. It all came down to getting that sandbag with a really good placement close to his body, massive hip extension, and a really good pace. Just dropping it over the shoulder, turning around, picking it up each time. But Dallin Pepper, the other teen machine, rolling on as well.
Dallin Pepper down with Nikki Brazier.
Yeah, Dallin, I know you said that that event would be in your wheelhouse, but you also said that you liked it, which is not something I think anyone else said out loud. Why?
It's just, those are fun to me. Like, just those grinding workouts. I've done so many of those over the summer, and I was ready for it. So.
When we talked yesterday, you told me you had a point to prove that you could be lower in the age division and still come out at the top of the podium. With one event left, how hungry are you for that top spot?
It's not over till it's over, and I want to finish strong and leave no doubt. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Dallin Pepper takes an event win in event number 10. Vincent Ramirez in second place overall, in second place in the event. Nathan Clifton has had a good back end of the week. Move things forward now to the Masters division. Age 35 to 39. Here inside the age group pavilion. It's the core couplet. 10th of 11 events. Kyle Kasperbauer is your overall leader coming into this. The 12 minutes of work, including 30 med ball GHD sit-ups and 10 sandbag cleans. He's Jeremy Austin, Joel Gadet, Nikki Brazier down on the floor. Glad to have you along with us here today. What exactly does the core couplet consist of with the GHD and the med ball and the sandbag?
At number 10, we've got 3 rounds, 30 med ball GHD sit-ups. They've got a 20-pound med ball, then 10 sandbag cleans at 150 pounds. 12 minutes.
Final day of competition. Joel Brand, a winner in the swim yesterday. His second event victory. Big body, longer trunk. The longer you are, the more beneficial it will be to you in an event like a GHD med ball sit-up.
Especially if you think of the size of Brand as well. Once he gets to that sandbag, it's going to be a whole lot easier to grab it. Now with the GHD sit-ups, what I want to see, strategic sets. You don't want to go out with 30 out of the gate and exhaust that core, and then in the second and third rounds really start to struggle and break them up more. Fast transitions are really important. So moving from the GHD out to the sandbag and back. Obviously when you are loaded with that sandbag moving forward, you're going to have to move a little bit slower, but on the transition on the way back, get back on there as quick as you can and break while you're on there.
Kyle Kleinschmidt fighting for a podium spot as we begin our last day of competition. Third place with 544 points. Catching Kyle Kasperbauer will be difficult, but making sure Uras Palkin doesn't catch him will be the thing. Kasperbauer in firm command, a 90-point lead. That'll give him the distinction of being the only 35 to 39 men's Masters champion in history. We'll go back-to-back in the 2 years this group has existed.
Kasperbauer moving that sandbag right in between his ankles, which is exactly where you want to start that. Keep that sandbag close to your center of mass. Getting that sandbag really close to your chest and getting that big hip extension. Kleinschmidt doing a great job with that hip extension. I'd like to see his knees just a little bit straighter, a little bit of a bend on the way up. You want to make sure that sandbag is traveling in the one direction and it doesn't come downwards. So think like an elevator. We only want to go one way because we don't want to cut the cable and go down the other way.
That would be less than ideal. Kyle Kasperbauer back to work. Why does the med ball make this a more difficult maneuver? Beyond the obvious, it's heavier.
A little bit weight and pulling that weight forward of your midline. So if you think midline, I'm dissecting your body right down the middle. Now you've got an external object on the outside. Now, another thing to keep in mind, Kyle Kasperbauer to the right is not a very tall athlete. Great athlete, he's proven that last year, but he has to move a lot greater distance with that med ball. If you think of Kyle Kleinschmidt over the other side, 6'2", that's going to be a lot closer to the ground. And you see where the ball is positioned for both Kleinschmidt and Kasperbauer. Kasperbauer rolling it pretty much up and down his entire body. Kleinschmidt on the left, he's getting it to his knees on the way up and really just rolling it down his shins. Less work involved.
Kind of looks like a bowling ball return.
A lot lighter though. Well, not really.
Actually, it depends on what kind of bowling ball you use.
It's true. Just a lot bigger.
Hand in the air signifying both of these athletes coming down the backstretch here of their second round of GHD sit-ups. First time the GHD apparatus has made an appearance in the Masters bracket of 35 to 39-year-olds. Again, just the second year that there's been a competition for this age group. Kyle Kleinschmidt, 26 points up for a podium spot. Out of CrossFit Diablo, Pleasant Hill, California, Alessandra Pacelli, competing on the individual side, also out of CrossFit Diablo. It's one of the more noted boxes as well. A lot of regionals athletes, teams. He and Pacelli trained together. Start to see the separation here as people make their way to the sandbag cleans versus those still on those GHDs.
You say separation. To the back of the screen there with no shirt on, the blue shorts. There's Polkin. He's got everything to gain today. The guy on screen, Kyle Kleinschmidt, has everything to lose. So the Kleinschmidt keeping pace with Kyle Casperbauer, actually now taking the lead. But he is in control of his own destiny. He finishes top 3 here. He almost guarantees himself a spot on that podium.
He's in position for it. Right now in second place. And now Kleinschmidt has gone to more of what we saw with Casperbauer as well, rolling that ball up his body. Again, using his body as something of a bowling ball return to take away the pressure and get a little bit of rest on the way up.
We think about fatigue on the arms as well. You've just been throwing a fairly heavy sandbag for the last 20 reps. So your arms are going to get a little bit fatigued. Although you'll go back and do a medball GHD sit-up, the pressure on your arms with that 20 pounds is going to creep in just a little bit, get a little bit annoying.
What's the harder part of this workout? It's called the core couplet, this event, called the core couplet, but it really taxes your arms.
It is, and between the two movements, the sandbag clean or the GHD is going to be so much worse. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I like lifting heavy objects and that sort of stuff.
Well, and in terms of body part too, the way it taxes your arms versus the way it's supposed to tax your core.
Absolutely. Even though you think about core movement on the GHD or a sit-up movement per se, even though you're doing that with the first portion of this event, once you get to the sandbag, it's really important to engage that core as well to get that hard, uneven object over that shoulder. Kleinschmidt now moving back to that original position of getting it to his knee and rolling it down his shin. So it must be just the first portion that he's using it to roll up all the way up his body.
Kleinschmidt 1 rep ahead of Casperbauer. These would be an incredible 100 points.
I don't know if you just saw Kyle Casperbauer just jogging to his sandbag. I did say fast transitions was going to be a key. And Casperbauer doing just that.
We saw Ethan Elwell take a couple of no reps in the division prior to this for moving outside of his 5-foot box, throwing the sandbag overhead. So do watch the foot placement of these athletes. While you can throw the bag in any direction, you have to make sure you stay in your lane.
And there we go. Casperbauer getting a crucial no rep with his foot outside the box.
Got away with another one there as the hand flies up. Casperbauer is ahead of Kleinschmidt.
And Kleinschmidt really starting to struggle now, center of screen.
Casperbauer has to pick it up and run. Kyle Casperbauer is in second. Ryan Starling, you can see in the distance in the green shirt, snuck in ahead, and Starling is in 5th place. So he becomes a little bit of a mover and a shaker with Kleinschmidt finishing 3rd. The difference there, 20 points. Starling came in 58 back of 3rd. Aras Polkin, who was also chasing, he winds up coming in 6th. Philip Kniep, 5th. To round out the finishers at this point, Bradley Alcock is at 4th. Time cap is 4 minutes away. 3 rounds, 30 med ball, GHD sit-ups of 20 pounds, then 10 sandbag cleans over the shoulder, 150 pounds. Gregory Hung, the Swiss Masters rookie,
doing an absolutely impeccable job with that hip extension, getting that object moving vertically up and then dropping underneath. Now, I know this is going to be his last set, but if you've got this hip extension at the back end of 30 sandbag cleans, you're doing a pretty good job.
You know, we've been watching the fight for third place. Alexander Jolivet, who came in second place, just wound up finishing deep down this event. A 9th place spot for Jolivet as Hung brings the bag across. There may be a shakeup here behind Casper Bauer, and there might be a couple of medals up for grabs heading into the final event 11 complex Fran. Justin King does not like his shoes.
He actually changed his shoes into the last set of sandbag cleans, but obviously he doesn't want them on anymore.
Landed in Brazil amongst those still out there. And now finished 17th for Brazil. Adam Izzo finished ahead of him in 16th. And now Kevin Jones, the Hoosier.
Another point of performance we want to see on this sandbag clean is that shift of weight from the heel to the toe. You'll notice Jones, once he gets it up, he does sway from left to right, using momentum as much as possible to get this sandbag up and over that shoulder.
Now Ryan Woodall is still on the GHD sit-ups in lane 19. In lane 20, Kostas Papadopoulos working on his final 5 sandbag cleans, and there's your leader, Kyle Kasperbauer in the pink trunks, cheering on Kostas Papadopoulos here. His wife Zografino watching, along with the rest of the Papadopoulos clan back in Greece.
60 seconds to go. Final minute on the clock.
Interesting tidbit on Ryan Woodall. Every portion of his travel plans, it took him 60 hours to get here from Perth, Western Australia. Every mode of transport he used to get here was delayed in some way, shape or form, plane, train and automobile.
Now I'm not going to feel too bad for him because part of that delay included 2 days, quote unquote, stuck in Hawaii.
I wonder if he was at Duke's Bar at Waikiki.
30 seconds left for Woodall.
But I've heard from a good source that he doesn't have a lot of skin left on his glutes at present. So probably quite uncomfortable. I think it was Ryan's physio actually that told me that, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of skin there. So it can't be very pleasant for him, especially in this hot, sweaty arena.
No rep for Woodall. And he will let it sail as we hit the time cap. Starling picks himself up an event win to start the final day, and he was in 5th place. Not a small, big win.
Big, small win.
Yeah, you know.
I know what you mean. Starting with the 30 med ball sit-ups. It was all fairly tight, but pulling away very early were the two Kyles, Kleinschmidt and Casper Bauer. Kleinschmidt having a little bit of a struggle, but it was Starling who was throwing that sandbag around like it was just a toy. And that fast transition to the finish line ensured that he did get an event win and 100 points.
That is with Nikki.
A good finish, but still one more event here on the final day of competition. What's your goal going into this final event?
Just go for it. Yeah. Got nothing to lose. You know, this one is for my boys sitting at home in the chairs right now, watching me. I was supposed to be on duty today, so they're covering me. So that was for you guys.
Congrats here.
Thanks.
Ryan Starling picks up an event victory. And he does so by 2 seconds over your overall leader, Kyle Kasperbauer, who will remain as such. Kyle Kleinschmidt fought for it, but he does his work to keep himself in a podium position. From 35 to 39, we move our way up a Masters bracket. Men's group 40 to 44 here at the Alliant Energy Center Age Group Pavilion for event number 10. the core couplet. It's 2 movements, and it will tax the heck out of your abdomen.
It is 3 rounds of 30 med ball GHD sit-ups. It is going to be a 20-pound ball. 10 sandbag cleans, 150 pounds, a 12-minute time cap. We're not just talking about core on the GHD sit-up, but those sandbag cleans are going to belt you. I mean, it's like exhaust you a fair bit.
Each way.
Either or.
Neil Maddox is your overall leader here with the men 40 to 44. And Neil Maddox told us yesterday he's starting to do this for something more than just himself. 754 points, well ahead of the 4-time defending champion Sean Ramirez. But David Levy hanging on to a podium spot, 2 points back of second place. Here's those 2 guys fighting for second and third. Sean Ramirez, David Levy.
2 points between Levy and Ramirez. Ramirez to the right of screen. The 4-time champ. Can he hold on to that second position? First out of reach for him. But 30 GHDs to start. One of these athletes choosing to break this up strategically. Great key to finishing this event really quick. So we're not just talking about a full GHD sit-up. We've got an external object on the front of our body. So strategic sets of the GHD sit-up, all important to get this event done nice and efficiently. And once they do get to the sandbag, you've got to get those cleans done, but move it down the floor for each round. But those transitions really important between the sandbag and the GHD.
This is why you need an Australian in every crew, folks. It's not a med ball. It's an external object.
Correct.
David Levy back at the CrossFit Games for the first time since 2013 this year. He was the fittest man. He still is the fittest man in Africa. Coming out of South Africa as an individual in 2012 and 2013. He makes his Masters debut this year. Picked up his first 2 career event wins. And this is an event that kind of suits David Levy because it's ab work, but it's also kind of farm strongman work. And that's how he trains as well. He used to train it fairly regularly when he first got into CrossFit. Shoveling, chopping, hammering, wheelbarrowing, stone lifting. Anything that was different. And this is about as close to stone lifting as you can get. Former triple jumper too, so you know he's got the explosion once he has to thrust those hips.
If you talk powerful athletes like Levy, how about another 2 powerful athletes? And what a great race we saw rep for rep yesterday afternoon. And I think the entire Age Pavilion just sat there in awe of these 2 great athletes going rep for rep. And now they're going sandbag for sandbag. Official stumble there from Ramirez.
These 2 guys have competed with and against each other before. They actually competed on a team together in a competition years ago. China Cho was on that team as well. They've got a history, but you got that competitive fire sense of them, like a real, true competitive fire to start the games. But the event you talked about yesterday, Jeremy, and Neil was quite open about it afterward, the respect that came out of that. And Neil said, listen, it's my first year in this division, likely going to win, but Sean is a champion. He fought like a champion. And he's deserved everything he's gotten to this point. Hats off to him.
Oh, absolutely. And it was just incredible. The atmosphere in here was absolutely electric. Watching these 2, what do you call, almost gladiators battle it out down the floor in the lanes next to each other. Now, Maddox, I'd like to see him opening his hips up a little bit more on the medball, the sandbag cleans later on. But he's not even using his body with the GHD sit-up. He's actually having that ball elbows in nice and tight, so pretty close to his body. But he's not using his body per se. Levy over the back, rolling the ball up and down. So Maddox choosing to just put that ball in those huge hands of his and reach it up. They've got to touch the top of the GHD in order for it to be a rep. But a number of athletes, including Jeb Simmons, bottom of screen, rolling that ball right up his body. You're trying to minimize fatigue on your body. Keep it nice and close.
One of the dangers of having to touch the foothold on the GHD is you might lose the med ball. Gary Papka is your leader. He is the first one off to the sandbag here. Papka in 8th place entering the day. First year at the games for Gary Papka. And now he's got some company. Jason Grubb in lane 12 in the pink trunks has started to make his way to the sandbag cleans, and so has the Ram, Sean Ramirez, and noticeably, Neil Maddox has taken a breather on the GHD.
Talk hip extension on the sandbag clean. Watch the distance between the sandbag and Gary Papka's shoulder. If you're getting that separation or that gap between, you know you're getting great hip extension. Jason Grubb to the left in the white and the pink, not getting that separation. And the fatigue starting to tell, and it's just sort of rolling over. So the more hip extension you can get, more power you can generate upwards, the whole lot easier that sandbag's going to roll over that body.
84 points back of a podium here for Jason Grubb. 59th place out of the Open, and coming into the final day of the CrossFit Games, 4th place. Incredible the movement that he has made. Grubb out of Colorado, CrossFit affiliate owner at 5280 CrossFit. Before it was a CrossFit box, it was a regular gym. Jeremy, he bought it on Craigslist. Made it into a CrossFit box.
What can't you buy on Craigslist?
Gary Papka is still your leader.
I'll tell you what you can't buy is a championship at the Reebok CrossFit Games. Now, important for Papka to get some great points here. And also Sean Ramirez, if he can stay ahead of David Levy, because that will propel him well into 2nd place.
The Let's Go Sean chants breaking out. You can see him. Look at his eyes. He is
and the smile
in.
as well. He's loving it.
His fans, his crowd support has been evident, and it has pushed him this entire week.
It's good to see emotion from the competitors. They're trying their absolute butts off out there, but to see them react to their support crews that are here makes them almost human.
And Ramirez is fighting for a podium as well. The 4-time champion trying to hang on to 2nd place coming into this event, so he has a lot to fight for. Gary Papka, in the meantime, fighting for his first event win at the CrossFit Games.
200 points for Papka will make things a little bit interesting. Might be a little bit out of reach for him, but you never know what happens. But
he's been a front runner all week.
Oh, he has, and you put yourself in a position to almost think on the podium. You never know what's going to happen.
He's had a bunch of 2nds, 4ths, 5ths. Did struggle yesterday, finishing 3 times in the teens, though. Sean Ramirez, the Ram, on his final 10 sandbag cleans.
Papka happy to just go for a stroll. And that weight of that sandbag, no issue for Gary Papka.
So that's an event win for Papka. Can celebrate down at CrossFit Max Kane. Jason Grubb making a move with Ramirez right next to him. And you can see the way Sean twisted his body there, because you can, we've talked about it, throw the bag in any direction, but you have to keep it in your lane. And Neil Maddox, the door is open here on Sunday.
Now, we talk about a few things. Some things are just not in your wheelhouse. Some events are going to be good. Gary Papka just proved that event was his for the taking. Yesterday it was Maddox. Ramirez. Has yesterday's event from Maddox taxed him so much mentally that he can't back it up today? Sean Ramirez is used to doing this. He's done it the last 4 years.
Ramirez is second. 90 points. Sean Ramirez, he came in down 188. Now the thing is, as much as Neil Maddox is struggling, there's still only 2 finishers. Now 3 with Jason Grubb finishing. So plenty of points still out there for the taking. What did Neil say, though? I haven't been taxed all week. I haven't felt hurt all week. but I hurt yesterday.
I think he's hurting today as well.
Joe Corvo, former Western Michigan Bronco, rows the boat across the line. 4th place for Joe Corvo. And Neil Maddox finally on to the last 10 sandbag cleans. 150 pounds. Steve Swistak, Jason Kelly, both finishing. Kelly 6th. David Levy has come across. That's a 7th place finish as he tries to grip his podium spot. The mustachioed Ricard Lanner. We talked about Donald Pepper's hair not moving at all on the teen side. I want to know what Ricard Lanner puts in that handlebar, because that thing has not moved.
It's very impressive.
Raleigh Fingers called. He'd like some tips.
Now, Jeb Simmons, interesting sort of technique. He's jumping that sandbag up over his shoulder.
It'll be a 9th place for Simmons and a 10th for Neil Maddox. That is his lowest finish of the week. The previous was 8th in the battleground presented by the United States Marine Corps. That was our opening test. And Mike Ebert's in the blue across the line. Time cap of 12 minutes. That might start to be a factor here. 90 seconds with which to work to finish everyone on their final 10 or final 5 sandbag cleans. It appears as if David Johnston is in fact going to be your next finisher. At a CrossFit Growl in Evans, Georgia. Justin LaSala, curly-haired, load of personality. We said, why'd you start CrossFit? He said, girls, man.
Do you start for any other reason?
He was honest. One of the more fun guys to have a conversation with here at the games this week at a CrossFit Garwood in Garwood, New Jersey. World traveler, too. Most of it solo. Learn a little bit about yourself. Pick that bag up here for Pritchard. LaSala in the foreground. You've got Morris in the pink trunks on the far side, and Dennis Marshall in the maroon. 30 seconds left, and Morris getting the instruction that he can pick that bag up and get in under the time cap. Matthew Morris, hand in the air. And our final 10 seconds of event number 10. Can he get over? Yes. Just in front of the horn. A solid 15th for Pritchard. But it's Papka who gets his first career CrossFit Games event victory.
Gary Papka, a hulking human, having absolutely no trouble with those GHDs. And it was the speed and the power that he was using, the hip extension on the way up, that allowed him to get that lead and keep it. And very, very easy finish for Gary Papka.
Papka ahead of the Ram by almost a minute. He said sometimes it's just your kind of event, and this was a Gary Papka kind of event. Jason Grubb, remember, he came in 4th place. He was chasing David Levy. Grubb might get himself into podium position. Nikki Brazier has the victor. Gary Papka.
There is no better time for a first place finish, but still one event left. So what's your goal going into this final event here?
What's my goal?
Yeah.
Just to leave it all out there. Just do my best. Enjoy the experience. So.
Congratulations on this win.
Thank you.
Gary Papka picks up the first career CrossFit Games event victory here in 2018 for himself. As we bump it up in age group, age 45 to 49, men's event 10, core couplet here in the age group pavilion, Alliant Energy Center with Jeremy Austin, Nikki Brazier down on the floor, Joel Godette. Glad to have you with us for med ball, GHDs, and sandbag cleans.
Event number 10, the core couplet, 3 rounds of 30 med ball cleans. Sorry, med ball sit-ups. We'll get to the cleans in a sec. 20 pounds for those sit-ups, 10 sandbag cleans, 150 pounds, a 12-minute time cap. And really, it's coming down to if this is in your wheelhouse, you're going to do well.